alleviate depression, relieve stress and improve mood. If you're a nurse...
We are breaking into this programming to bring you some very sad news. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died. The late monarch's own family is mourning right now as we all, no doubt, begin to try and come to terms with the passing of a true giant. 10 News First will bring you ongoing coverage of the reaction to the Queen's death. But for now, here's Hugh Riminton with a look back at her remarkable life.
Our longest-serving monarch. From the moment she inherited the throne to the day she died, Queen Elizabeth II devoted herself to her people. She was born on April the 21st, 1926, and educated at home. But the young royal wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty.
They found Princess Elizabeth in overalls working on the engine of a Red Cross lorry.
Here she is as a teenager doing her own bit for the war effort. She trained as a mechanic. Even on her 21st birthday, on an overseas trip with her parents, she seemed at ease with her destiny.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service.
And while the public started to get to know the woman who loved horses and corgis, she started to get to know someone else. Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten. Love blossomed. They married just after the war in 1947 in Westminster Abbey. The royal dress was made from material bought with ration coupons. A year later, the couple started a family of their own. Prince Charles was born.
Bless you. Bless you.
2 years later came Princess Anne. But it was a little while after that that the princes, Andrew and Edward, came along. The critical moment in her life came in 1952. Her father, King George VI, died. She had no time to dwell on her heartbreak. Suddenly, she had an empire to rule. At just 25 years old, she became Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. One of her first tasks as Queen was to visit her empire, and that included Australia. So in 1954, she set foot on our soil, the first reigning monarch ever to do so, and the crowds loved her. Over 58 days, the young monarch and her husband visited 57 cities and towns. She addressed Parliament House in Canberra.
It is therefore a joy for me today to address you not as a queen from far away, but as your queen.
Millions of people lined the streets. It's believed 3/4 of the population saw her. And after that successful visit came another one in 1963 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the foundation of Canberra. She was described by commentators as petite and very lovely, and our former Prime Minister agreed.
I did but see her passing by, and yet I love her till I die.
She never forgot about the land down under. Her Majesty came back 4 times in the 1970s, including opening some of our best-known landmarks.
I have much pleasure in declaring the Sydney Opera House open.
She returned for her Silver Jubilee in 1977. One of her most memorable visits was in the 1980s, opening World Expo in Brisbane and the new Parliament House in Canberra. But it was one particular politician a few years later that had royal watchers' skins crawling. Prime Minister Paul Keating was dubbed the Lizard of Oz for this, putting his arm around the Queen's back. That incident just added to the year she dubbed Annus Horribilis. There was so much scandal in the royal family that year, with affairs, divorces and tell-all books. Windsor Castle was even damaged by fire. 5 years later came the moment that shocked the royal family and the world. Princess Diana was killed, and the royal family came under intense criticism for not returning to London to mourn her publicly. It took the Queen 5 days, finally, to deliver this tribute.
She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness.
She didn't come back to Australia for a while after that, but it was mainly because she didn't want to become embroiled in the Republican debate that was raging in the late 1990s. But come 2006, who could resist the excitement of the Commonwealth Games, especially when you're the head of the Commonwealth. Her last visit here was in 2011, her Diamond Jubilee tour, and she could still draw a crowd, even among those who might not have known that much about her.
When she shook it, I felt very special, and I was almost in tears when I came back to my mum.
It was a different Prime Minister who caused a stir that time. Republican Julia Gillard didn't curtsy, and she stayed silent during the singing of God Save the Queen. But Her Majesty didn't seem to mind.
I have watched Australia grow and develop at an extraordinary rate, and above all, in self-confidence.
For all the British stiff upper lip, she did have a sense of humour.
Good evening, Mr. Bond.
This encounter with James Bond was to launch the 2012 London Olympics, but inevitably by now, the Queen was starting to slow down. Her 90s brought grief and difficulties. Prince Philip was involved in a serious road crash for which he was to blame. At 96, he withdrew from public duties. The Queen's reputed favourite child, Prince Andrew, was accused of having sex with underage girls, trafficked by his friend, the convicted child sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew's denials did not stop him paying millions to settle a lawsuit from his accuser, Virginia Giuffre. At Prince Charles' insistence, the Queen cut Andrew off from royal duties. Meanwhile, her grandson Harry, a war veteran busy forging his own life, married an American actress, Meghan Markle, in a match initially seen as bringing royalty into a new age. In fact, it brought the family's deepest rift since Charles divorced Harry's mother, Princess Diana. From a new home in California, the new Duchess turned to American royalty, Oprah Winfrey, to make explosive claims of racism and obsessive control in the royal household.
There's a conversation with you,
with Harry,
about how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh.
The rift would not be healed in the Queen's lifetime, but she had deeper griefs. The loss of her prince, Prince Philip, dying at the age of 99. Theirs was the longest royal marriage in history. She struck a profoundly lonely figure at his funeral, stripped of the people who might support her by the pandemic scouring the world. If there were the losses of great age, there were also some of its comforts, the clear delight she had in her great-grandchildren, and her Platinum Jubilee, marking 70 years on the throne. No British monarch has reigned so long or likely ever will, the outpouring of affection as genuine as it was sustained. And at last, she mischievously revealed the biggest secret of her reign, the contents of her handbag, a marmalade sandwich, apparently.
Bonita.
And then it was her time. The personal legacy of this Queen, Elizabeth II, will never be matched, if only because the world is so much changed. She was the last link to a time when the crown really did stand at the centre of an empire.
She will be tremendously missed. It will be an absence that people throughout the Commonwealth, indeed throughout the world, will feel.
Long live the King, for the Queen is dead. Hugh Remington for 10 News First.
So recapping, Britain's longest reigning monarch, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, has died. 10 News First will continue to pay tribute to the Queen's incredible legacy and the outpouring of grief the news of her passing will surely bring in the coming hours and days. In the meantime, we extend our condolences to the royal family.